Hi everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Chasers. Happy New Year to everybody out here. Today is January 1st, coming up on 10:30 a.m. See if you can spot the frontal system headed towards the Pacific Northwest. Pretty easy to spot there. You can see all the cold air pouring off of Alaska here. Check that out. This cloud streak's just coming off, showing that Arctic air moving over the relatively warm Pacific Ocean here. And this front is going to blast into our region here coming up on Sunday night into Monday morning. So there's a lot to look at here. Let's go ahead and check out what it looks like initially on the European model here. You can see it does show a warm up and some rain, and then it shows it kind of a changing over to snow, and that's at the stronger part of the front here through the Puget Sound down towards the higher elevations west of Portland. You can see there doesn't look like it gets Portland, but eastern portions of the state, you guys are in for a big storm here, except for maybe the lowest levels here of the basin. And we'll take a look at that here coming up. And then you can see a weak wave moving into Oregon there. And then we have some pretty cold air locked up here, and it shows some of this kind of moving back into the region. So we'll have to take a look at that. That'll be something we'll discuss a little bit more detail tomorrow. We're going to look at today's front a little bit more. And then we have this system coming here that tries to pull cold air through the gaps with a lot of cold air in place. But it is kind of that low is a little bit far north, but it is showing this precip is starting to snow here, or possibly even some freezing rain. You see that in here? Just like Olympia towards Tacoma, the gorge east of Portland there. Could be a nasty setup there coming. This would be Thursday morning. Here's the trajectory of that cold air. It briefly, you've got this battle between this low pressure system and this really cold Arctic air that's settling back down into British Columbia. And then you'll see this air kind of take that trajectory off. And that's kind of a lowland snow event maker, but it's very quick. And the Pacific air mass fights back quickly with another cyclone moving in off the Pacific here. So it might draw enough cold air in there that this event here on Thursday morning would start off with some freezing rain or some snow for the area, depending on where exactly you are. That's something we'll look at a little bit more in the future. Here's the GFS for this frontal system. You can, sorry about that, a little too far. You can spot it there, waiting for it to load. And pretty good burst of snow Sunday night into Monday morning. Then it kind of keeps us pretty chilly behind that front, which is to be expected. But I think that snow is probably going to be on some hilltops. Once you get away from the metropolitan areas and the sea level areas, you're probably going to be getting some snow above 1,000 feet for sure. And again, eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, and the Cascades, a huge storm is coming. We've got high wind watch up for Skagit, Whatcom County and the coast. We'll go into that in more detail in a minute here. Here's the warmer Canadian model, and it's been shows a little interesting system slide through there, but it's showing this system here for Thursday also as it approaches here. It's a little bit further north, and you can see it's got precip is not frozen in the lowlands on the Canadian model. Even though it has the cold air here, you can kind of see it mostly confined to the east slopes of the Rockies. So looking at temperatures now, see we're going to warm up a little bit above freezing today here into the mid-30s for the Seattle area. And then as this front comes through on Sunday night, you can see we're mid-30s. And it's possible that frontal system is strong enough to drop this down to freezing for a brief time and bring some accumulating snowfall. But again, it's a very marginal setup. And taking a look at the 24-hour Kuchera snowfall rates, you can see that for Seattle proper, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, maybe a little more to the north, but this is going to be slushy, wet accumulation. You can see Olympia gets some totals out of this too. Maybe you'll get a stronger portion of the front down here without getting any kind of downsloping effect off the Olympic Mountains here. Let's take a look at the winds. Spot the front on this one too. You can see the front just out here. This is tonight after midnight into Sunday morning. Look at the high winds for the coast. Big winds for the northern interior there over the San Juans, Skagit, Whatcom counties along the coastline there, parts of Whidbey Island, Admiralty Inlet. And then you'll see that really peak at about, look at those winds just peak there on Sunday evening. And again there about Sunday midnight, still going strong up there. Gusts over 50 miles an hour. Then you can see the parent low out here meandering. And going on into, actually, before we do that, since we're on wind, let's just dive right in here. Check out the winter storm warning for all the Washington Cascades, winter storm watch for just the very southern Washington Cascades and all of the Oregon Cascades. Olympic Mountains winter storm warning. We've got a wind advisory for the coast. Sorry, I said high wind watch. It's not a wind advisory. Wind advisory for up towards Bellingham. Let's see what it's saying for there. Yeah, gusts still to 55 miles per hour, so just below high wind criteria. High wind criteria starts at 58 miles per hour. That's considered severe wind. Coast is the same, going to be the same if it's a wind advisory there. I guess gust to 55 miles per hour. High wind watch down here for Oregon. Gust to 65 in the higher terrain. So heads up if you are above 1,000 feet in the coastal range of Oregon. Heads up for that. And we're looking at winter storm watch for the Oregon Cascades. Look at this. I mean, total snow accumulations 15 to 30 inches. Winds gusting 35 to 55 miles per hour. This is, I mean, there's no difference between this and a blizzard, really. They could have gone with a blizzard warning in some of these areas. This is just an incredible storm for the Cascades. Let's check out the Washington Cascades here. Above 1,500 feet, 18 to 24 inches, winds gusting 45 miles per hour. A very intense storm approaching. If you are in above 1,500 feet in the Cascade foothills, heads up. This is a vicious storm, and it is going to come blasting in Sunday afternoon through Monday. Got a special weather statement out here. Dangerous cold to continue through the weekend. So check with your National Weather Service out there. Wow, expect low temperatures of -5 to -30 where snowpack persists. That's just amazing. They just had some really good cooling. Clear skies with the snowpack and light winds will do that. Dangerous wind chills. Wow, so highs just in the teens and mid-20s. So impressive cold for eastern Oregon. Really, really an impressive storm coming in here, guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at, this is another way, a good way to spot the front. These are temperatures at 2,500 feet. You can see the warm sector here coming in before the frontal system here, kind of warming up everybody west of the mountains there. You can see Seattle to 3C there. It's warming up aloft. And we're going to scour our Arctic air mass. It's going to be completely destroyed. So this front is going to have to tap air above it to bring snow down to the sea level. This is not going to be dealing with how cold it feels out there right now. This is, the frontal system is on its own here. There's going to be no Arctic air help with that. And you can see it just doesn't get that cold above us. So it's going to have to tap even farther aloft. If we look at the 850 millibar temperatures, when this front blasts in here, you can see we are, it's not that cold aloft. But with enough lift going on, you can see snow down to sea level on this. This kind of highlights the cold air aloft a little bit better. This is about 10,000 feet here. You can see it really stream into the region, especially during the day Monday. Peak wind gusts around the area. This is the European model. This is all the way through Wednesday, so this is just a swath of peak wind gusts to be expected. You can see Seattle gets kind of left out on this wind. I mean, it'll be breezy in the 30s here, but mainly Tacoma south and Whidbey Island north through Skagit, Whatcom County, the shoreline, San Juan County. Big gusts up there, 50 plus miles per hour. Look at the straight up here, southern BC. Over 60 miles per hour, that southeast sucker event. Perfect setup for high winds there. And you can see the Oregon coast and the coastal range here too. And this is going to be snow above, 1,000, 1,500 feet. So heads up out there. You're going to be in blizzard conditions in some of these areas for the Oregon Cascades and the coastal range. And some of the Washington Cascades are going to be in blizzard conditions, full out blizzard conditions. Taking a look at the GFS. The GFS has been the colder of the solutions here. You can see going into Sunday afternoon, it cools us down right as that front is passing through, and it's probably dragging down. This is probably overplaying some of the air that is pulling through the gaps also too with this system. And I don't think that's going to happen. So the European is almost surely more accurate with this. But again, with the front, we could see snow all the way down to sea level. It's just probably not going to accumulate much. It's going to be a heavy, wet snow also. So it's going to melt as soon as that frontal system passes, or at least be on the melt. And here's the GFS Snow Totals. Go ahead and run through these. You can see it keeps painting the central Puget Sound from Everett down towards Seattle with snowfall. It's been cutting back a little bit, but look at these totals through the Cascades down through Oregon. A lot of snow is going to be falling up there. If you're going through the passes, you're going to have a really hard time Sunday night, Monday morning. So anybody, trying to come, I know people commute back and forth from Eastern Washington into Seattle. It's going to be really tough if you're trying to do that on Monday morning. I can't imagine that the pass won't be closed at least at some time during the day on Sunday afternoon or Monday morning through the day Monday. Check out some of those snow totals out there. The higher terrain of Northeast Washington, Northeast Oregon is going to get another good snowfall. And this could spread down to the lowlands just north of I-90 through Spokane. And, it's painting some snow down the Willamette Valley. I don't think that's going to happen. You're probably going to have to be on a hilltop, higher terrain, away from the valley areas down there in western Oregon. And especially down in western Oregon, the coastline here, you need to be up above 1,000 feet if you're not going to get snow down there. Taking a look at the extended here really quick. How far are we out here? So we are, okay, so we're not that far out yet. The model's still running through here. But let's take a look anyway. Cancel that. And there comes our system there. You can see those gradients tighten over western Washington, and you see the low pressure dropping through the Gulf of Alaska and British Columbia there, and you see that some of that Arctic air here sliding down the east side of the Rockies, acting as a wedge and giving some troughing here in front of it as it moves down towards the Dakotas. Look at those gradients across western Washington. That's why the wind advisories are up, and that's why we're going to have blizzard conditions in the Cascades. Intense winds incoming, and then that's going to get northeast Oregon also too. Look at that pressure gradient there. And you can see that gradient really stretched across the Oregon Cascades. So if you're traveling, heads up, Oregon Cascades, blizzard conditions are coming. Gusts to 65 miles per hour. And we can see this Arctic high is on the move now. You can see these gradients coming through British Columbia. And this starts to stretch down. And it looks like the European's been trending a little bit higher with this Arctic high. And look at that pressure starting to build, this gradient start to build into central British Columbia here. And this pushes, most of this stuff is pushing down east of the Rockies. You can see this impressive storm. Looks like they're going to get finally some winter weather out there to the east. Now what we're looking at here is notice how close this Arctic high is getting to the region here. And this is, we're getting out into the area where there can be some margin for error. So maybe some of that will leak through, and one of these Pacific systems will be dragging east air through the gaps, maybe the gorge down to lower elevations, and maybe some of that cold air will be trapped down the Puget Sound, where we could get some kind of freezing rain event. That's something we're going to have to watch, especially when a low sets up like that. If this low was further south, then definitely it would be pulling cold air through the Fraser River gap also at this point, and Bellingham would be, subject to a big ice storm, or potentially all the Puget Sound at that point. But then you can see this low kind of tracks right over western Washington, and then maybe another Arctic high later on in the period on the move. So yeah, the active weather continues. Let's just run the GFS through here and just kind of take a look at it, and you'll see the similarities. Computer is not loading very quickly today, but you see the storm going down in the Midwest. You see the gradient getting really close here for western Washington, southern British Columbia. That Arctic area is close. That Yukon high, look at that powerful Arctic high. And then here comes a storm, which could potentially bring some ice. If that brings some cold air through the gaps of the mountains there, we could start off with some freezing rain through the area. Similarly tracks a low over the areas the European did, and you see yet another Arctic high on the move here. The only problem here is that for snow lovers, I don't know how far south this is going to get with this huge this huge trough out here. We usually need a ridge out here to help steer this stuff down onto us, and it's just not happening there. So I don't know how accurate this is going to be, but that shows a really powerful Arctic high. That would cool us off. I mean, we'd be back down into Arctic air there. But we're getting out to La La Land with the GFS here, so I'm not paying too much attention to this yet. The Canadian model has been a little bit warmer than the others. I'll speed this up a bit here. And you can see that Arctic high mainly east, and it doesn't like to build up that gradient as much in British Columbia, and it's been keeping that low further north. That's why the Canadian model is, and that very well could be the plausible solution with this in the future. That kind of brings that system similar to the GFS and the Euro, brings a little bit more Arctic air, but this looks a little more plausible to me than what the GFS just showed with that Arctic air sliding east. And then we've got this big high just building over the interior basin region here of the US, and we get more of a typical Gulf of Alaska low pattern. The GFS and the Canadian are both showing that, and I think the European, let's see, we'll just load up one more frame here. Yeah, and the European is showing that also with that Arctic air and the extended, and more of a typical Gulf of Alaska low pattern, but that doesn't mean we still can't have crazy weather. So we'll just have to see how this plays out, and we'll look at detail, much more detail of this in the days to come. But yeah, thanks for the feedback, you guys. It looks like the page is doing well, and I appreciate all the likes and subscribes. And you know, I'll keep doing these every day, and hope these are helping. And let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys maybe tonight, depending on what this front looks like. If something changes, I'll talk to you tonight, and if not, I'll be back tomorrow morning. So happy New Year, everybody.